You're listening to the WordPress and Tech podcast with Natalie Crow Designs and the NCD Academy, the podcast designed for non-techies in business wanting to build, improve, and maintain profitable WordPress websites without the tech overwhelm. I'm your host, Natalie Crow, creator of the NCD Academy WordPress 101 course and the NCD Tech Sessions membership. I'll be sharing with you tips, tricks, resources, and my take on WordPress from my 14 plus years industry experience as a WordPress expert. I'm a strong believer that tech is just a tool that we as business owners have access to share our message and help more people. So my goal here is to help you demystify the tech and help you make the most of your WordPress website. Let's dive in. Hey there, lovelies. So in today's episode, we're going to have a chat in regards to how do we improve our existing WordPress website. So this does depend on various factors of your site, how long your site's been up and running, what sort of things you're actually doing to actually promote it, the type of content that you've got it, the actual what's included, all the functionality on your actual website. But the primary things that we look at as a starting point when you're going through and actually looking at trying to improve your site. First and foremost, we'd probably look at the actual factor of what's working. So taking an overall look at the website, what's the actual purpose or goal of the website? What are you trying to achieve? What is your website supposed to do? And does it currently do that? What are the things that are really working well for you? Does it represent your business well? Does it act as it's intended to do? So if they go to the contact us page and send a contact message, does that all work properly? Do they go and actually interact with various elements of the site and it all work correctly? And are you actually getting traffic to your website? Is it converting, and are you getting inquiries or orders, sales or signups to your lead magnets or your mailing list? Are all the pages working? And where are your actual traffic? Where is the traffic that's actually being generated coming from? So, for example, are you getting a lot of people coming from your social media platforms or Google searches, or a blog post or an article that your website's been linked from on someone else's website? These are all places that you could be getting traffic. So the other thing here is what features are actually working for you. What's actually being something that your audience are actually interacting with and using frequently. So how do we actually know or how will you actually know if these things are working? One, you'll know if you're getting engagement, sales, visits, inquiries, and signups. But are people able to actually go through and find you on the search? So you can check this out by going either into a private or an incognito view on your browser. So most browsers will have either what they call a hamburger menu, which is usually the three lines. It's up in the top right-hand corner, or three dots potentially. And there'll be an option there for you to open either a private window or an incognito window if you're in the Google Chrome. And then you go through and actually go to Google and actually search for your website. But going into an actual private or an incognito window, this doesn't take any consideration as to what you've previously searched. So it gives you a more realistic view of what a potential new customer, would be actually going through and actually seeing when they look for your website. You can also check this out on, mobile view. So you do have the ability to go through and change your browser to a responsive view so it looks like it's a mobile, or you could get on your phone and test it in the same way. But these are just ways that you can go through and actually make sure that your website's showing up. And Google, for example, does go through and actually have a different listing or ranking order for websites that are actually on mobile view and desktop view. So it's worthwhile checking on both. And you do actually have ranking factors in terms of search engine optimization to actually go through for the speed of an actual mobile phone website, or that we're seeing on a desktop. The other thing is, what about traffic? Is your site actually getting traffic? There are a heap of tools online that you can actually utilize. One of the ones that I really like to use is Neil Patel's Uber Suggest. Basically you can go through and pop in some keywords or your domain, and it'll give you an idea of the type of things that your website's coming up for. Or you can go through and actually look at the search terms and see what sort of traffic they're getting, so you can look to optimize your website for those. But we will talk about SEO in another episode. The other thing that we want to look at too is looking at what isn't working. So my suggestion for you would be to go through and make a list of those that aren't working. Is your content up to date? So going through all your content on your website and making sure that it's relevant. It doesn't necessarily mean going through and say, for example, your blog post, deleting all the old ones. You don't need to do that, because realistically blog posts, and I will do an episode on this as well, but let's say blog posts themselves, let's say something that basically builds up like a library of content. I've got blog posts on my nataliecrowdesigns.com.au from 2013 that still perform well on the search engines. So, I mean, it's something that'll build up over time. You don't have to go back and delete those chronologically listed articles. But your general content, like for example, your About Us page or what's in your products and services, you want to make sure that those are all up to date. Again, going through and checking all your features. So it's regularly checking your contact forms are working, particularly if they were working on and all of a sudden you're seeing a real drop in signups. You might have the actual signups for your mailing list, checking your add to cart. So for example, one of my last launches that I did for the WordPress 101 course, I had an automatic update happen on my actual Academy site, which I don't generally recommend that you have them set up, but I thought this one would be okay. Anyway, in the automatic update, it actually went through and overwrote some settings that I had, which basically made the shopping cart icon on my menu no longer work. So when people were going through to try and actually add things to cart, they couldn't actually get to cart. So these little things that are even for my own situation have happened. So you're not alone if things go and do an auto update or you have something that doesn't work correctly. It's just a matter of going through and actually regularly checking on your website to make sure that's working. Things like going through and actually clicking on all your call to actions. So if you've got a button there that says go to cart or go to a certain page, you might have on the home page, quick access buttons on your site. I'd be going through and actually checking on those frequently just to make sure that they're working, particularly if you notice a drop off in actual interactions with your site. The other thing that you want to do, more importantly, what don't you like or what doesn't actually fit for your business still. So we go through and actually add all these functionalities and features to our site when we're first building. But we want to go through and basically audit our existing website to make sure that the things that we've included are relevant. We're also making sure that we're not running a heap of things that are no longer serving us. So, for example, going through and in WordPress, we often go through and actually install plugins and trial and test them to see how they actually work for our business. But for many people, they go, oh yeah, I'll go and look at that later on, or they don't actually go back and actually remove them. The more plugins that you have on your site, a slower load time and things like that it can have, but it's also a means of going through and actually improving the performance of your site. You don't want to have a heap of plugins and themes sitting on your actual WordPress dashboard that you're not using. So my recommendation is to make a full backup of your actual site and then go through and do a bit of an audit and actually remove anything that's not actually relevant. The other thing, a little tip for you. You can go through and there's many questions that get asked in regards to how many plugins and themes you should have installed. Depending on how well those plugins work together, you could have anywhere from 30 onwards, but most clients, I encourage them to try and keep it under 30, particularly if you're not using systems that are actually integrated. So for example, you might have WooCommerce and there might be 3 or 4 different plugins to actually give you the functionality you need for your shop. You might go through for for example, LearnDash. LearnDash has a series of additional add-ons that you can actually add in that are essential to running that. So those I don't necessarily count as individual plugins, but they do actually impact the performance of your site. So you can have as many as you need, but you want to actually keep it as minimal as possible. The same with your themes. You want to go through it. You might go through and trial a heap of different themes. Lots of people go through and they will actually update to the latest version of WordPress, but WordPress usually adds a new theme. So it might be the 2022 or the 2021 theme, and so on. You don't need to have all of those existing themes on your website. You want to have the main theme that you're using and maybe a backup. So usually I have an actual WordPress theme. So one of the 2020 or 2021, 2022 themes on the site, but I try and get rid of the rest of them because you don't need those extra things on your site dragging you down. The other thing that would say, I've got like 3 more points here, so we'll go through. What else can we actually improve? So we can improve the visual appearance so it's more aesthetically pleasing for our audience. We can improve the actual layout and functionality and placement of things. We can make it easier to understand and find resources. But then we can go through and actually improve your content. So you want to add content that's relevant for your audience and also for SEO purposes. Talk how you talk and engage with your audience. Be authentic. So it's one of these things that we've gone through. A lot of people will write out saying because they want to go through and sound very professional and whatever else. But people want to read it as if they're having a conversation with you. They want it to be down to earth. They want it to be something that they can come on in and consume. At a time it's good for them, but also go through and have it so, I'm going in, I'm going to get some knowledge and experience here. But it doesn't have to be boring. But you can go through and have your personality in your content without you actually having to go through and keep it, same black and white, so to speak. Prospects are 100% more likely to work with you when they know, like, and trust you. You don't have to be picture perfect with everything that you do. And if nothing else out of this whole, podcast, I want you to actually get that. Show the real you in your content, because people are getting to know you and your brand. But there are hundreds of other people that will be doing the same sort of thing. But some people go through, and you guys will actually go through and work with me solely on the basis of that, you know who I am, the type of thing that I offer, that I'm authentic in what I'm doing. But people will buy from you for exactly the same reason. Why do you go through and buy from certain companies? Because you've actually built the rapport with them. Where you actually trust what they do, value their work, and you want your audience to get to that same place. So making sure that your actual website reflects that is something that I'd encourage you to do. The one thing out of all of these is make a list. Going through each of these different components, you want to make a list of what is working, what's not working, what do you need to change or what do you want to change, and finding how is the easy way that you can actually go through and do so. So the homework that I'd recommend for you is to ask yourself the question we've asked tonight. Start from your list, pick one of the things that you're going to do and work on one of those to improve it each week. Even if you can't do it each week, go through and actually schedule some time in your calendar. It's great to go through and make lists, but if we don't actually take action on them or schedule time in to do them, we're going to be no better off. If you need some inspiration for things that you might go through and actually improve, review and update your About Us page information. Write a blog post about something that your audience really want to know about. For in this case, I'm creating blog posts based on the podcast. So I've got the podcast episode. I'll create some notes that go with this, and then I'll go through and actually incorporate that into a blog post. That's going to be super helpful, not only for those that want to go through and actually read, but also listen in on what I'm actually sharing. You might add a new section to your homepage or rearrange your homepage to bring out the most important features of your website above the fold. You might go to Google suggestions, and find keywords and phrases that you could write content on for your website. You might go through page by page and check all the functionality of your website. Or you could go through and actually audit your website as if you were a new prospect and make sure everything is easy to process. But yeah, in summary, you want to go through it, work out what's working, consider what's not, make a list of things that you want to actually go through and improve, and then schedule some time to actually go in and implement. All right, my lovelies, I hope that helps for today. If you want to join the conversation, you're more than welcome to come over to the WordPress Help Hub, which is my free Facebook community, or you can check out the show notes for other resources, and things that you can actually go and explore via my NCD Academy. I look forward to chatting with you soon, and bye for now. You've been listening to the WordPress and Tech podcast with Natalie Crow. I'd love for you to go through and subscribe so you don't miss any of our next episodes. Also head over to ncdacademy.com.au/podcast for all of our free resources and tools and tips.